Olá, está no ar mais um NuclearCast, o seu canal sobre o setor nuclear no Brasil. Eu sou Emanuele Bordalo e apresento esta temporada a convite da ABDAN, Associação Brasileira para o Desenvolvimento de Atividades Nucleares. Hoje eu tenho o prazer de receber no nosso estúdio Mikhail Chudakov. Ele é Diretor-Geral Adjunto e Chefe do Departamento de Energia Nuclear da Agência Internacional de Energia Atômica da ONU. Hi, Mikhail.
Hello,
How are
Emanuele.
you? Nice to meet you.
Nice
to have
to meet you
here.
too.
So, Chudakov, let's talk about energy, nuclear energy for social development. We know it's used in areas like health, environmental, agriculture. What recent initiatives have called the agency's attention? Like, do you see the small modular reactions playing a growing role in the future?
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me, and I appreciate also that ABDAN and Celsa Cunha for inviting me agency that on this great forum, which collected 3,500 experts all over the world. And I'm here represent agency also on behalf of my Director General, Rafael Mariana Grossi. As concerned nuclear power, that all my life in nuclear power, I was during my career that a reactor operator of PVR 1000 big nuclear power plant, and also was a plant manager, small nuclear power plant like small modular reactors. And I strictly believe that nuclear power, in spite of the events that happens before, can be very safe and reliable source of energy. And this is the only source of energy that, if we are talking about the carbon-free source of energy, that can replace carbon sources of energy, and that this is necessary for the future if we are serious, because the population is growing and that people needs energy, needs clean energy, and that energy security, that this is national security, and this is understandable. We should not speculate on how much would cost kilowatt hours today or tomorrow. That if you take the nuclear power, this is one of the cheapest source of energy, because it works 100 years, almost 100 years. New designs, 60 years project of nuclear power. And usually you can extend plus 30 years more. So that if you calculate for the whole life and taking into account that capacity factor or load factor, that nuclear power works 24/7, that capacity factor close to not 100%, but very close, 94, 95, the new designs. That means that it produces so many energy for their life, and the energy will be very cheap kilowatt hours if you use all this produced energy for whole nuclear power life. This is very important to know. And we see now what's going on in the world when they fully rely on the today source of energy, that and on so-called renewable and variable renewable as solar and wind. Solar and wind may be good, but we should not just to be fully rely on this variable sources of energy. It depends whether there is a sun or whether there is a wind. And also hydrostation. Hydrostation is good, but all big rivers already covered by hydrostation, and the biggest plants, including in Brazil, that they are not working on the full power because of the climate change, and also because of carbon dioxide emission from the carbon sources of energy. And the water is not enough in the ponds, in the reservoirs to use hydro on the full power. So what's we could see what happens in Europe just less than months ago when the Spain and Portuguese rely fully on the solar and wind energy. Solar and wind energy not produce the inertia, so-called that energy is active plus reactive. And reactive energy that also very important, and not the wasting energy. They support the grids actually, because solar and wind produce direct current. Then you invert it back to the to get to the grid, and not enough inertia, not enough energy that. That's why the grid gets very fragile, and when you exceed the amount of such energy, you can immediately destroy the grid. That's what happens in already several times in different countries, and maybe first time in Europe for the so long period of blackout in on the so great territory. Of course, they are not up to now that completed investigation, but as a nuclear engineer, I'm just 100% sure that these results of rely on 70% the grid supplied by solar and wind. So if we are going about the future, population is growing. They need energy and energy secure, because many of them, if we are even not talking about the carbon-free source of energy, they don't have. The developing country would like to be developed, and they don't have no carbon, no oil, no gas. And even of not being talking about that carbon-free, they don't have, many countries don't have even these sources of energy. But if we are talking about the free carbon sources of energy and the big scale that I explained before, that grid should be on 50-40% supported by base source of energy. And if we are talking about free carbon source of energy, it can be only nuclear power. Now about SMRs. Our projections show that 1/4 of the nuclear power by 2050 that will be on small modular reactors. Why the small modular reactors is so in fashion now, and everybody talking and asking about small modular reactors? Because it's easy with infrastructure. That nuclear power needs, of course, special infrastructure where you should have that regulatory body, grids, backup, what to do with the spent fuel, that fuel cycle fresh, that capacity building. You should have that qualified staff for operation and education and so. That's this infrastructure sometimes is very heavy for the developing countries. They should invest in it. That, and of course that in small modular reactors, and small we call that less than 300 megawatt electrical installed capacity. But for them, we also should have this infrastructure, but we scale it down. It shouldn't be. In one areas, it should be 100% the same, like for the big power reactors, and then in other areas is can be close to zero maybe. Also that in front investment very heavy for the developing countries. They often don't have money and rely on the private banks. Private banks don't want to invest in nuclear big power because it's a long time construction. It takes maybe 6, 7, sometimes 8 years for the big power, 1 gigawatt electrical, 1,000 megawatt. But for small reactors, in front investment smaller. That we can use also that private banks for this. And the time of construction smaller, and that operation also easy, and we can use it in isolated territory for Brazil, for example, in Upper Amazonia, and we can use it instead of the coal station. I know that Brazil took that law that stop all coal station by 2040, and here that using the same infrastructure, facilities, city, town, staff, we can replace this coal station by small modular reactors, using this several units instead of that previous coal station. That's why it's so attractive. I can talk by hours, but I'm sorry that not giving you chance to ask any questions.
No worry. About that, is the agency planning to support countries, developed countries, who are willing to invest in SMRs in the future?
Yes, but agency not only planning, they already supporting the country. We already supporting. We creating a so-called SMR platform when we get together, joint all activities of agency and also international activities, created special networks and creating special task forces to help in the countries for assessment, feasibility, applicability of small modular reactors in their countries. We have also requests from Brazil, that from Diamante company, to start working on feasibility for replacement coal stations. And we published that some also review of the designs of existing SMRs. Now in the world we have dozens, maybe 70 different designs in 90 countries. But unfortunately, most of them are just paper design and not in the metal, not under construction. But some countries already have small modular reactors. This is Russia, floating nuclear power plant in northern territory on Pevek, behind the polar circuit. Academic Lomonosov floating nuclear power plants, 2 units, KLT-40S, and supply not only electricity but heat in the local town. This is also that reactors rhythm that Russia is going based on this reactor to create on land already a nuclear power plant. As a reactor rhythm has many years that history, and was not invented just yesterday, because it's used before, it used and now used on the icebreakers fleet and Russia, which exists already many years, many dozen years. And China is creating different types of small modular reactors, pressurized water reactors and high temperature gas reactor with pebble bed fuel, and molten salt reactors, also small modular reactors, completing construction that pressurized water reactors in their country. You know, Argentina is constructing CAREM 25 units. And now it's because of some political situation. I understand it's a little bit frozen, but I'm pretty sure that they complete construction of their first SMR on Latin America. I know that Brazil also working on the design, USA working, of course, that Canada working, that a lot of progress, and we cooperate. We organize that SMR school, and even on the education, exchange of information, any assistance to the country. And even on the field of this forum, we conducted 2 days workshop related to SMRs and connecting with the lecturers from agency experts who explained why we need SMR, what is it SMR, and how we can develop and deploy it in the future.
And let's talk about Brazil. We have the Angra 3 plants in construction. We have, we control the cycle of uranium. How do you see Brazil's role in this international nuclear energy scenario?
Yeah, you know that Brazil is not newcomer for the nuclear. Of course, they have that rather developed that nuclear area industry, and as you mentioned, have that in operation Angra 1 and Angra 2 for many years already. And Angra 3, unfortunately, is still under construction. It's frozen construction on different reasons. I don't want to get in the deep detail. But it's also important to complete construction of unit number 3. Otherwise, it's wasted money. And that I know that Brazil is working and looking at the different ways how to complete construction. It's necessary to do in the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years. If you don't do it, then forget about these units, as what's happened on Filipina at the nuclear power plant on Philippines. That they stayed more than 30 years, and already that it's all designed that no need to resume it and to restart it. It's better and cheaper to construct new units. That may happen with Angra 3 in 10 years. So that necessary to complete construction. Even if somebody economists calculate that taking into account already invested money, it's very expensive. But as I mentioned already, that the units will be working 100 years, and then in 5-10 years everybody forget that how much it would invested, but they will be enjoying that receiving that electricity for whole century, and support the grid, that so important, the base source of energy for the grid. And Argentina has also good uranium mining, and working how to make it more, expand that mining of uranium, has enrichment facility, has that fuel factory. So that, why I'm telling Argentina, I'm talking about Brazil. Sorry about, because recently I was talking about Argentina. Brazil, of course, that. And Argentina also not newcomer, and they are that close to each other. That, and Brazil that not newcomer, and of course that the future plans also to continue to work with nuclear energy, and also especially for small modular reactors, as one of the reasons, as I mentioned, for replacement the coal stations, and other reason to use it in isolated far territory that where there is no developed grids and backup sources of energy, like in Upper Amazonia and somewhere then. So, and I'm pretty sure that that this plan will be developed, and SMRs will be deployed and used, and Angra 3 also will be constructed and put in operation in the future. And we in agency use whole set of the programs and tools, and we are working together to help develop this.
Okay, perfect. We have a lot of initiatives going on. But to wrap up, despite progress, nuclear energy still faces like public mistrust, often rooted in the memory of past accidents. In your view, what are the key strategies for demystifying the sector?
Key strategies that in order that
Strategy like communication strategies to show people like the benefits of the sector.
Based on my experience and as I said, I'm all my life in nuclear power. The most important in nuclear power, this is the will of the top level government. This is the president and ministers, and the government should support nuclear power and not change it every 4 or 5 years when the president replaces. This is important. If you'll be thinking that today we construct nuclear power, tomorrow that we are not constructing nuclear, you will never create that nuclear power in your country. You always will be hesitating. As there is a proverb, there is a will, there is a way. You find a way if there is a will. It should be the willness and the will of the president, government to be together with nuclear power. Unfortunately, in many countries, and maybe Brazil not so, clear, but in developing countries, in in Africa, that there is always change in the course. Nuclear power is important to be supported by government. This is the most important. Other things that public acceptance not support, that's why that president and government not support. But this is a vicious circle. Public not support because they can see that you are not support on the top. If you support on the top and you are sure that you need nuclear power, that public also would support that. And for public acceptance, of course, we need to communicate, to tell them, to tell the truth, to tell the fact, to show and that discuss openly all pluses and minuses and compare with all other sources of energy, and to show that you don't have another choice for the future as to have this nuclear power.
Great message. So thank you very much, Chudakov, for this interview. Eu quero agradecer também a nossa audiência que acompanhou até aqui e a toda a equipe da Abidan que está nos bastidores, garantindo que esse podcast seja um espaço para que a gente tenha conversas sobre o setor nuclear. Muito obrigada e até o próximo episódio.